everyone, it's IRL.
And I'm KC, or Teratato, as most of you know me as.
And you are an artist, a builder, a writer, and the founder of Spindle ASA.
I'm the founder of Spindle, but it's really been a team effort. Early on, I asked if anyone would be interested in helping build it, and several people were. So luckily, we got a developer early on. Nanaline is our developer. She also works on Algorand. And we have a professional writer and our community manager and stuff. So it's really a team effort.
And Spindle ASA focuses more, like you said, on kind of hobby fiction writers primarily?
Yes, we are trying to be like an algorand publisher where we're available to the community to publish a variety of different works. We started with independent fiction, especially for hobby writers who are trying to get their work out there to the community. So we've been uploading fiction onto our website and trying to branch out in different ways that writers can monetize their fiction if they build up a fan community through tipping and interactive story elements. We have a voting system where writers can set up polls in their chapters. And if readers would like to vote, they send in an NFT card to vote. And this NFT card then gets converted into our token yarn. So by voting, the readers are also monetizing the author. It goes directly to the author, and Spindle doesn't take a cut from voting cards. So voting has been pretty popular. We're going to move into illustration NFTs next, where if writers have an illustrator or they do their own illustrations or they want to commission an illustrator, they can then sell those NFTs on the platform if they want to. We're trying to branch off into some other publications. Of course, we have Warp Weft, and some projects have lore content or fan content that they are interested in hosting on Spindle. There are a couple projects who are interested in doing like a choose your own adventure type text game where you go through and you can play it and you can choose your different options and stuff. So we have someone working on that. So, and a couple comic projects too are interested in hosting on Spindle. So we're slowly branching out into a variety of different publications for the community, basically.
Now, are all the publications, some of them are available, well, they're all available on the website. I'm most familiar with Warp Weft, which for those that don't know what Warp Weft is, could you maybe tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, Warp Weft is a ASA zine that we put out every month, and it just features a lot of news from the ecosystem, interviewers with creators. We have a docs article where a creator can tell us more about their real life self and post a picture. We have fiction content, comic content. I try to keep Warp Weft kind of fluid, where I was inspired by the early Dragon magazines for D&D, where they had all of this different content from different creators. And so for Warp Weft, I try to allow the journalists to write about what they're passionate about, as long as it has to do with Spindle or the community. So we've had a variety of different segments in Warp Weft. The way it works is you need the cover NFT. And so when you connect your wallet to the Spindle website, every issue where you have the cover NFT or the subscription becomes available for you to read. So that's the way Warp Weft works. And like 75 or 70% of everything we make from Warp Weft goes to the journalists themselves. So the different writers who submit articles, they get a cut at the end of every month from the sales too. So it's been fun. It's a lot of work. It does take a lot of our staff resources every month, especially mine, because I do all the layouting for it and everything. So
I love that it's a little bit of everything, because it kind of gets me to read a little bit outside of what I would normally, what I open it up for necessarily isn't, always the same thing that I end up enjoying the most. So you guys do cool write-ups. Your cover art's amazing. Do you have different artists do that? Or I know you're an artist yourself and you do some of it.
Yes, I do some of it. And Zephyr's, previously Shrifez, she's done a couple covers. She did the Fractal Monsters cover and the Algo C's cover, and she's also the artist who does our website art. The spinner, that's hers. So she's done a couple. Early on, Continuity Drift, one of our staff members and myself, we were like passing it back and forth. Like he would do the base, and then I would digitize it a little bit because he's more of a traditional artist, and that was cool. But the cover art is pretty fun usually to do. I try to take especially like an NFT project, and I want to make it look like their NFT, but I try to also invent some like Spindle traits. Like the most recent one is mostly friends, and I like did a little book on his head and stuff. So
you didn't have a background in technology per se, but I know you kind of really fell in love with it when you got here, and that's been the community that you've found. But you're an artist too, and you make some NFTs, and they're pretty amazing. But you play around with kind of all the different. I've seen you play with AI. I've seen you play with like pencils and like physical art, and I think I've seen some composite art in there. Tell us all about your artisticness.
Well, I went to college for art for a while. I always really enjoyed pen and ink medium, so I started doing like pen and ink insects. I like to draw insects, and really the big issue is that it takes a very long time to draw. So my NFT project, my main one is Anora Ensemble. That's the frogs, and I draw them digitally on my tablet. I do use AI for the background, but even the easy ones, the ones that I think should be easy, it's still like 8 to 10 hours. So it takes so long. I gotta get faster. But I did experiment with AI. I have my story project, which is Pharaohs, which is on Spindle, and I wanted to do some scenery for Pharaohs. There's a lighthouse theme, and I thought it would be cool to be able to generate these landscapes with the lighthouse in it. I generated like 9 lighthouses from my Pharaohs NFT set that are supposed to go with my story project on Spindle, and it's an interactive voting story. So the idea I had was that holders of the Pharaohs NFT could cast a vote for the progression of the story on Spindle, on the Spindle Discord server. So that was kind of what I was thinking with that. I'm still ironing out how all of that will work. And then for Anora Ensemble, it's going to be slow because I have other responsibilities, but I want to release a series of different characters for it. And eventually, I have an idea already for Gen 2 in like, I don't know, 3 years or something crazy like that. But I don't really want to talk too much about it because I don't know where I'm going to be in 3 years. So I don't want anyone to be like, you said. But I have a long-term plan for Anora Ensemble. If you guys like frogs and Disney animated style, then that might be the project for you. I haven't actually minted or listed them yet. I'm trying to get 10 put together first, and then I will list those and just keep building that project as I have time and availability. I like having a variety of different projects because I can kind of like rotate between them. Spindle, my role in Spindle is very administrative. I do a lot of spreadsheets and stuff like that.
Yeah, I know I have some of your insect pirouette pieces that were very cool because it kind of blended what I had seen as far as hand-drawn insects and the AI. It was kind of like a fun mixed meld of the two.
Yes, Insect Pirouette I created because I was trying to learn the software and see what it could do. And this was my first experience generating my own AI, so I was kind of blown away and had a little bit of an existential crisis as an artist because I was like, these are actually kind of cool, you know? And I'm over here spending, 5 hours drawing a line art for a frog. But that's okay. I think AI has its place. I think it's cool. I think the artists that can meld AI into a real project or into some handcrafted artwork are really going to succeed with AI.
Yeah, we all want everybody to work smarter, not harder. So, but I like that you haven't, because I've been like quietly watching and like, I try not to get in everybody's projects, businesses too much, but I like how, especially like what you've done on the artistic side and then what you guys have done with the Warped and Weft. It's like a very exploratory level of creativity, but you seem very comfortable in it. And I think that that's what sells it, is like, it's honest and it's got like this like filterless quality about it. But at the same time, I know you're putting so much work in the background. It's like, like the videos, when a good video edit, people say, well, you don't see the edits. Well, those are the hardest ones to make, man. So it's been really fun to watch. I'd love to hear just a little bit more about how your subscriptions work.
So basically all the subscription asset does is it unlocks all of those different files, basically the issues. So if you don't have any subscription, then every month you have to go to the website, buy a new one in order to read it. If you have a subscription, then when the new one comes online, it'll automatically be open for you. And we have, we wanted to try different things and see what worked. So I am a big proponent of the annual subscription because it's just one NFT. There are a lot of other people who like to collect the different covers, and the 6-month subscription was more of like a discount subscription where it was a little bit cheaper to buy the 6-month subscription than it was to buy the individuals. For the most part, it is kind of exploratory in that we're trying to try out different things and decide what works and get feedback from the community on what they like and don't like. I'm very big on like collaborative projects and like collaborative works. And so Warp and Weft, Spindle in general, but especially Warp and Weft, anyone who wants to write for Warp and Weft can come in and say, here, this is the type of article I would like to do. And they can submit an article basically. So all of it is a collection of ideas from active community members in Spindle. They're not even Spindle team members. They're just people from throughout the algorand community. And that's what I really like about it. So we have the Spotlight, which is a project that's on the cover. That's our main feature. And we have an art article, which is the one that I write every month, where I try to focus less on NFTs as a project and more just on the art side of it. And then we have a few others, like the club updates, just in case anyone reads like a book club review and is like, that sounds like fun, I'm gonna go join the book club. And so the biggest thing is just trying to figure out which projects we're gonna feature. We have a sponsorship which allows projects to buy in, basically, if they want, because we choose the other projects. So if someone wants to like advertise, they can buy a sponsorship, which is 100 algo, and then they get an article in Warp and Weft, but it's very clearly stated that this is a sponsorship article, it was paid for, and that just helps support the journalists. And it helps people get their projects out there if they have some big news they want to share with the community. Most journalists are pretty good at being independent. They go out, they do the article they're supposed to do, and then they turn it in on the 25th. And I spend a lot of time getting links and like talking to projects, trying to get updates for the roundup. The roundup in each month is one of the longest ones to do, which seems counterintuitive because it's just a little bit on each project that has news, but it's quite a feat every month. And then I spend the next 4 or 5 days layouting the zine.
It seems like an enormous amount of work, and I do know that you have some help on. You're not writing it all yourself, obviously, and I love hearing the different voices. A lot of the different writers have different styles, and it's fun to see that that collaborative effort. I think you guys could have room to maybe do it quarterly, and breathe a little. It's like I feel like I might have started to break out into hives thinking about those two.
Yeah, I was thinking about switching over to quarterly next year. I think what we're going to do is in January, we're going to revisit it and make some changes. We definitely want to focus on building out some other aspects of Spindle. I would be very interested in finding someone to take over the management as far as deciding what projects to interview, collecting news, assigning articles to the journalists and stuff like that. I could still do layouting, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. We've had a few people interested in maybe taking over the management, but when Warp and Weft, it makes a little bit of money for Spindle, but not a lot when you split it up across that many contributors. So I'm like trying to get people to consider managing it, but I'm also like, well, the compensation's not great though, you know.
So
sorry.
Ad sponsored. You do the sponsored segments, right? Do you just sell ad space as well?
Yeah. We sell a couple ad spaces. We have full page ads for 40 algo, and we also have like little smaller ones for 20 algo. And I think that could be a very good way to sponsor Warp and Weft.
What's the retail for these e-zines?
They're 5 algo each right now.
I didn't know what the per price cost at the newsstand per se was because, like I said, I have the annual subscription. So you've been around for a minute. When did you get started in Algorand? Because it's a while now. I've been following it for a while.
I think I started in Algorand around November last year, and I started Spindle in January. It was really after New Year's. I was starting to reevaluate what I'm doing with my time, basically, and really wanting to create something. And I love writing, so I really wanted to get some writing out there, and I was trying to think of how do I publish my writing, how do I build a community, how do I get people to read it and stuff. So I kind of took the scenic route, and I wanted to create the platform that I would want to host my own fiction on. So that was how it started, really in January. I was very impressed with the community. I joined Orbital Gnome Strikers, and that's why they were our first Warp Weft cover. And I thought it was really cool to see all of the Algo fam together, especially the creators, kind of like swapping ideas and networking and stuff like that. And I really like a lot of people in the Algo fam. I've made a lot of friends here, and it just feels good to work here, you know, whether it's Spindle or my own NFTs, Anora Ensemble, or my fiction. I really love building in the Algorand community. I think it's a great place. And I love the clubs on Spindle. You know, we have book club and we have comic club and we have a gaming club and stuff. And it's cool to just be able to read a book with my friends, you know, or, you know, hop on and play an online board game. That's a lot of fun. So it feels right to be here.
I love that it is very much unapologetically a work in progress. Like, it's cool. And so I have been wanting to talk to you for a while, and I will admit my YouTube is totally a good excuse to talk to people. I was like, hey, I know you interview artists. How about being interviewed? And you were really kind and said that you would do it. So I was super excited to just get to connect with you kind of one-on-one finally.
That is how I feel about Warp Weft too. A lot of times just meet a lot of people and network organically, really, in a way, because there's always a lot of cool things to talk about.
So if you were to go back and give KC some advice, November of last year, maybe give yourself or somebody that you kind of might see a little bit of yourself in as far as their, you know, mixed aspirations in the space.
I think it's very important to lay a good foundation. So I would probably tell myself, maybe don't start so many different projects yet.
It seems very natural for you to kind of flow from project to project. And I feel like that actually kind of has helped prevent burnout for you because you haven't stayed laser focused on one thing, although they're always kind of there, you know. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I think it has definitely helped prevent burnout. And I wouldn't change it. I just want to be able to grow a little bit more quickly. When you're diversified, everything is growing in baby steps. I think having a good team is important, and I got very lucky with that because I didn't really pick them. They kind of picked me, especially our developer, because there are a lot of projects who don't have a developer, and our developer is the only reason why we've been able to grow as much as we have and have the Wallet Connect functionality, and we have a liquidity distributor, and we ended up receiving a grant from Algorand, and that was pretty much because, you know, Nanaline was on our team with us.
Realize you got a grant for that, but that's awesome, and it makes me feel a little bit better about who gets money from the foundation. I know you guys did win the hackathon. I didn't forget about that. The Denver ETH Algorand type hackathon. You guys won that. Is that what you're talking about, or is that a separate grant that you received?
That is separate. We won the hackathon, and then we also got a grant later on in the year. So
that's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Is there any advice you have for somebody that's just getting into blockchain? Because you were there at some point not that long ago.
I think my big advice there is find a community that you really enjoy being part of, and not to hesitate or be afraid to reach out and make friends. So building a community and surrounding yourself with the people that you want to sort of like build long term with, I guess. The kind of people that you respect and that you enjoy hanging out with and that you like. That's really going to be the main recipe for being successful, and encouraging you to just show up every day. Just show up every day. Even if you don't really want to do any work, make a little task list and show up and do that spreadsheet, you know, talk to your community and stuff and just get involved.
Well, I'm sure you have an endless task list, so I will not keep you very much longer, but I do want to say thank you. As this a conversation was one I was really looking forward to having, and I probably could talk to you all day because I just think everything you do and all the little bits and pieces that you're interested in are fascinating. Thank you for taking the time to sit down with me.
Great. Thank you for inviting me to talk. I'm a little camera shy, but I have been getting much better, and I wasn't nearly nervous about this interview as I was my very first Orbital Gnome Strikers fireside chat. So that's a good sign. I'm moving in the right direction.
I appreciate you. Thank you for taking the time, and thank you for just being one of the good ones that I have been really enjoying following and keeping up with this last year.
Thank you. Teratato.
I can relate to that. I am very new at video editing, and it takes me an embarrassingly long time to put together even a few seconds of like information. And I'm pretty sure no one would be my friend if they realized how long it actually took me.